At Higginbotham, we put people first. Our specialists are here to serve you, the people you care about, and your success. Insurance, HR, and financial services. Inspired by you.
All right, Bantees, we've got a very special guest for you today. Let's give a great warm Bantee welcome to our friend, Cat Osterman.
Hello.
Wow, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like kind of cool to say that. Literally Cat Osterman. So
literally the real Cat Osterman.
Yeah.
As in, opposed to you've met a fake?
Yeah, I've met many fake impersonators. Yeah.
Generated by AI, Cat Osterman.
Yeah. No, thank you.
We're super excited to have you, friend of the program, Bantee.
Yes.
We want to take the time first, though, to make sure we really run down the old Cat Osterman bio. So sit back, relax, because we got a little bit of a wild ride. So everybody knows what we're dealing with, okay? First and foremost, Cat Osterman, she won a gold medal at the 2004 Summer Olympics in Athens.
She also won a silver medal at the 2008 Beijing Olympics.
And then again at the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo.
She was a 4-time All-American at Texas. Hook 'em.
A 6-time professional All-Star.
She's the Big 12 Conference pitching triple crown holder for her career in wins, ERA, and strikeouts.
People can't even do that for a season, and she'd be doing it for the career.
All 4 of them. It's crazy.
And let me add to that list, as well as shutouts, no-hitters, whip, and perfect games.
She's the MPF career leader in no-hitters with 6.
That's many.
Dumb. That's dumb.
Also, one of NCAA's 5 pitchers to strike out 1,000 batters with 100 wins, an ERA of under 1, and averaging double-digit strikeouts.
Yeah, rest in peace to every single hitter that Cat has ever faced. Yep. In May 2020, and I can personally attest to this, in May 2020, she joined and eventually won the inaugural season of Athletes Unlimited as the top individual points leader. Ladies and gentlemen,
Cat Osterman.
Cat!
Where did you guys find half that
You're
stuff?
Unbelievable.
Don't worry about it.
I don't want to reveal my sources, but Googling you is quite fun, I gotta say. I mean, I knew a lot of these off the top of my head, and then I Googled you, and I was like, oh my God. I knew your drop ball was moving.
It'd be moving.
I knew the curve was moving.
Moving.
I knew all of it all along, but I didn't realize, good Lord.
That just keeps going.
I don't think I realized some of that. The triple crown thing, Sam's whole top 5 with 1,000 strikeout thing I knew, but then she added all the stats. That's crazy.
I think obviously your greatness speaks for itself, but yeah, the stats are absurd. Yeah. I would love to, while we're on the college little train, I would just love, you call a ton of games for Texas State, you're around them a lot. I think Texas State has gotten a lot of attention in the past few weeks, which is great. And obviously Texas too. I would love to get your state of the union for Texas college softball right now.
I think, in the state, it's growing so much, and it's always had popularity. Don't get me wrong. But I think the college realm, with Trisha Ford taking over at A&M, it sparked some more competitiveness within the state. And so you see Texas and Texas A&M, and obviously they'll go Texas joining the SEC next year. That rivalry will reunite, which is I think everyone in the state's looking forward to it, because it was such a heated but friendly rivalry, so to speak. But then you have, the mid-majors that are really stepping up their game. And, Texas State's always been competitive. Don't get me wrong, year in and year out. We all got to play with Randy Rupp, and she did a number there. But just the way
I love Randy so much.
The sweetest person you'll ever meet. But Coach Woodard's done a good job of just maintaining that standard of excellence and finding the next big pitcher. And, Jessica Mullins brings that for them. And yeah, I mean, their year, I know at one point they were as high as, I think, 13 in the RPI, which is just insane. I asked Coach Woodard, and she was like, I don't even know if we were close to that with Randy. And she goes, and we won games.
Yeah.
So yeah, across the state, It's so popular and it's so competitive. And I think now again with A&M and their rise, I think more talent is staying in state as opposed to going out of state, where for I think a little while there was a lot of talent that was leaving the state to go to the SEC and other schools. And now with Texas as well, like, I'm not going to lie, there was a drop off in there with their competitiveness and not in the top 25 or near it for a bit. And Coach White's been able to elevate that too. And so again, the talent, if it's here in your backyard, like you don't want it to go anywhere if you don't have to. And so I think both staffs at A&M and Texas have done a great job of being able to keep talent here in the state. And then obviously, put a cast around it if they have to go out of state.
Yeah. You were born in Houston, raised in Houston, played at Texas. Can you talk about, I feel like this is a Texas thing, but I felt like some of this too, where I was an in-state kid playing for like my hometown school growing up. There was just like an immense pride in that. But I feel like Texas is like another level. Like, can you talk about that just for a hot second of like what that means to play for your home state?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, you can take a girl out of Texas. It's hard to, but you'll never take the Texas out of her. So a lot of times they end up transferring back home. But I think, and it's similar, it's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still very prevalent, is like there's a point in your career or your life, I shouldn't say career, but life, where like you decide you're a Longhorn fan or an Aggie fan. Because those are the two like biggest football schools, right? And so you choose one of those, and then from there, you go into your career, and for another sport, it might be, you might cross the lines, but there's just so much pride in being able to have a hometown school. And again, a lot of people who go to school here in the state for college end up staying. So like my parents are both from Illinois, but they went to school in Illinois. My dad got transferred here for a job, and lo and behold, they never went back. And thank God, because I don't want to live in the cold, but
don't blame them.
And so again, I graduated, left for 3 years, came back, and there's no part of me that wants to move away if I don't have to. But I think too, and it's the elusive chase, I think when your favorite school is among the talk, and that's how it was for me, is like I chose Texas because I didn't want to be with the big dogs. I wanted to beat the big dogs. Like I wanted to try to win a national championship with my hometown school that had a chance versus going and being the 5th, 6th, 9th, whatever national champion at UCLA or Arizona. And I had respect for those programs, don't get me wrong, but to be 3 hours from home and compete at the same level, like it was a no-brainer. So I do think there's a pride. I think everyone has it in their state, but for whatever reason here in Texas, it's a little bit deeper to where if you can stay home, then you're going to stay home.
I love that.
And the old Longhorns are sitting pretty at number 1 right now. So
numero uno.
Easy to it's a little easier to have pride too, and you're like, oh yeah, number 1, whatever. And we have a second special guest here, folks. We've got JC here. She's got her drink with her. Stay hydrated out there, hot girls. And we're just, Cat has entered from her dominating drop ball era into her mom era, and oh my gosh, she's so cute.
She's so cute and smiling.
Oh, she's had to make an appearance. Cat, speaking of your drop ball, when did you know that it was disgusting?
Oh, you guys will probably flip out on this one. I know. Mommy's got to tell a story.
Does JC know?
JC's probably already got it. Honestly.
Well, we're left-handed, but we keep throwing balls with both hands right now.
Okay, we can work with that.
Be a switch pitcher.
Right. So I was actually a rise ball pitcher prior to college, like strictly rise ball. I had learned a curveball like junior, senior year-ish, was playing with it both sides of the plate. Obviously, my back door ended up being something I leaned on as well. And like,
nasty.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
Especially the lefties.
My God, even the righties. It was so rude. I'm like, that ball's in the left-handed batter's box. Oh wait, she caught it over the plate. That's rude. Sorry, please continue.
So like end of junior year, my dad was really concerned about going to college and being an only rise ball pitcher and balls leaving the yard. Like, being a rise ball pitcher, they're gonna hit more home runs, this, that, and the other. So he's like, you really need to learn something that spins down. And so I had learned a corkscrew fastball growing up. So again, upspin, right? So he was like, let's play with a downspin fastball. And I was like, okay. So we played with it. We thought it was spinning well enough, like no big deal. And we went to Florida for Christmas, and I had been fortunate enough when I was like 13 to cross paths with Michelle Smith at a camp, actually at USF, where is also where I met Coach Erickson for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, Michelle and I kind of kept in touch, and there were a couple of times we went to Florida and she would make time to do a lesson with me and watch me throw.
Awesome.
So we were going to Florida, and my dad had reached out and was like, we've been working on a drop ball, would really like to get your opinion. Do you have time? And of course she made time, and we were throwing it with her. And well, really, I should say my dad told her we had a downspin fastball and he wanted to get her opinion on it. So we go to this lesson, throw everything else. Then we get to this downspin fastball, and she looks at him and is like, why are you calling that a fastball? He's like, well, because it is. And she's like, no, that thing is like dropping. And my dad was like, what? And she was like, that's a draw ball. Like, that's a good draw ball. And mind you, I was still at 40 feet at the time because I was one of the last classes to move back 3 feet.
Unfair.
So then she was like, yeah. So then Michelle was like, let's move back 3 feet and see what happens. Well, then
There
it was like
was.
table. And so as soon as I went to college, my coaches were like, yeah, you're going to rely on that, and we'll just mix in some up, which is kind of why now, as much as I love my rise ball too, people kind of forget that I throw one. Well, I don't throw
not
it
me.
daily. I don't.
Yeah, you never threw it to me. Dadgummit. That would have been too nice.
I threw it once, and thank God it was an AU scrimmage because it went so far out. I was like, yeah, that's why I haven't thrown it before. Got it.
Oh god.
That was the highlight of my career, and it was a scrimmage.
I was gonna say, I've struck out on the entire repertoire.
On all of it.
Yeah. Rise, drop, curve. Yeah, I've swung and missed for sure.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I really didn't lean on it until I got to college. And then, I mean, from then on, it's what I threw probably 70-80% of the time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
It's crazy too. Like, I feel like you're such a good example too for young pitchers who come up, and all these kids care about is the number on the speed, on the gun, on the radar, where it's like, okay, the faster I throw, the better pitcher I'm going to be, right? No, I know, JC, like that's what I'm saying. And you are someone who, especially in your career with the Olympic team and the national team, you might have gassed some in like 64, but for the most part, your zone was in the lower 60s. And I think people don't realize how like ridiculously effective that is. So do you talk about that a lot with young pitchers when you get the chance to work with them, or how do you approach that conversation, I think?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone also. Oh, we fell.
She's passionate. She's passionate
She
about
really is. Oh,
JC, I know. You could throw really fast or slow or in between.
Yeah. I think the false assumption is that I was like always tall. I was always big. Like, well, I've never really been big, but that I was always tall and had everything working in my favor. And that's not the case. I was actually really a late grower. And so I was short. Hi. Shorter. You done? It was shorter and skinny for so long that like I couldn't throw hard even if I tried. So my dad was like, all right, we're going to hit spots. And then obviously as I learned pitches, the other thing was trying to make them spin as fast as possible. Cause how do you miss hit things? Because they're spinning weird or whatever. And
right.
So, there was a point in time where like, yeah, the goal was to hit 60 because everyone else kind of had already done that, but it wasn't till junior, senior year or high school. And it was more of a bet. My dad was like, well, if you throw 60 before you leave for college, like I'll buy you a car, which never happened. I mean, I hit 60, but he didn't buy the car.
Dad.
So, I know, right? Yeah, that's not fair, huh?
Yeah, she's upset.
Take mommy's phone. Play your animals. There you go. So yeah, I mean, and so when I talk to pitchers, and don't get me wrong, I work with quite a few that already are throwing hard, but like the prime example, the one pitcher I work with the most, she's actually going to ASU, but she throws mid to upper 60s. Yeah, don't worry, Sam, I'll be coming out to visit.
All right.
But she throws mid to upper 60s, and there was a point where, hey, I need you to go down there. There you go. There was a point where she threw like 69 or 70, and she got really excited. And it was one of the stalker guns, and so it had Holy cow, there you go. Oh, sorry.
No, it's part of
Please
it.
don't apologize. This is so great.
So this is life when you have a child.
Yeah.
And you try to be a at-home working mom.
I love it.
But it was a stalker gun, so it had the miles per hour and the spin rate. And I quickly pointed out, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, you threw this, but look what your spin rate did. And it was 300 miles an hour or whatever rate slower. And she was like, I was like, so while yes, it went faster, it moved less. And so then it was getting her to understand. And I think this is the part that a lot of pitchers miss is what is your threshold? Like my threshold was around 63. Like my curve could get up 64, 65 and still be fine. But with my drop hit 65, it didn't go anywhere. But when I was at 62, 63 with my drop is when it was like falling off the table. And so it was finding that threshold. And I think so many pitchers are just like, oh, I have to throw hard. But they don't find what their threshold is. I mean, Monica Abbott's threshold and my threshold are polar opposites. It doesn't mean either one of us are wrong.
Right.
And so I think every pitcher has to figure out where that threshold is. And I think I learned it because I threw slower at first. So it was easier to get faster and see it didn't move and then pull back as opposed to throwing hard and being like, why is it not moving?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I talk to pitchers all the time about it. And you guys know, I mean, especially nowadays with technology. I mean, when I was in college and even high school, like you didn't have machines that could throw 70 miles an hour.
Right.
Like
No.
have machines get up to 68, 70 miles an hour, you know?
Yeah.
And so you can train for the speed aspect. But if it's not spinning, it's easier for you guys to hit. Like 70 straight in,
Totally.
it might take time to get on time. Like you may not be on first at bat, but second, third at bat, it's gonna go just as hard straight out.
Right.
So yeah, it's something I talk to pitchers about, and I try to preach to young ones, like not to get over consumed with the speed thing, because I also think speed, just like power hitting, is kind of a development thing. Like if, you know, especially in the ages from anywhere from 12 to 15-ish, 14-ish, like you can have a fully developed girl at 12 who is just banging the ball over the park and throwing 60 miles an hour.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's a 12-year-old who's nowhere close to even being developed, who's throwing 52 and, you know, might still be a slapper, but God knows when she's older, she may not even be fast enough to be a slapper anymore.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's the thing. Like at those ages, we just have to meet them where they are and teach them, you know, what's the skill set right now that's going to be the most advantage at this moment and moving forward. And I think a lot of times we just try to make them do things as hard and as fast as possible. And it's just like, that's not always the ideal way to do it.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Wow. What are your thoughts on, I feel like too, like young pitchers worry a lot about speed, but I feel like every young pitcher I come in contact with is like, they all have 8 pitches for some reason too.
Yeah. 8 pitches and like 3 that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, it's like my drop, curve, slurve, fastball, changeup, rise, drop, curve, screw,
Off speed changeup.
screw, off speed, changeup, rise. I don't know. Can you just from a pitcher's perspective maybe enlighten us on that?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, obviously we know there's like the 5 main pitches, right? Fastball, changeup,
Right.
rise, curve, drop, well, screwball, so 6. And like, yeah, you can, I know. Screwballs make me not happy too. I get it. There you go. But, and you can make a drop and a curve off speed.
Yes.
But at the same time, for you to have an off-speed curve or an off-speed drop, like you need to be intentionally making it off speed. Not I'm learning it and it happens to be 5 miles an hour slower, so I'm gonna call it an off-speed drop. And then the other thing I think what people are doing is instead of teaching kids how to throw things on the two, like the inside and the outside plane, it's like, oh, you're going to cut across your body. We're going to call that a drop curve because a curve goes across your body. And it's, well, no, not necessarily. You know, like, well, Sam probably, I don't know if I threw it. It wasn't I shouldn't say it's good. I didn't have it cut as much when I was older, but in college, I threw a drop ball that I would purposely try to cut behind the hitters. But I wouldn't call it a curve in. Like I wouldn't call that a drop curve. It was a curve in that I just tried to tail a little different. And so I think everyone thinks, oh, if I have all these pitches, it makes it sound like I'm really good. But then you ask them to throw 10 of it and they won't even throw 5 of them good. And so I
Yeah.
tell them all this,
Yeah.
you're not at certain ages, and it obviously the percentage gets higher the older they get, but like, 12, 13, 10 to 12-year-olds, like if you're not throwing something 60% of the time where you want it to go, you don't have the pitch.
Yeah.
So, our off-speed rise ball that's right down the middle, we don't have that pitch if it's down the middle 6, 7 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the big thing, is getting them to realize, the consistency piece with it. But I do think you just change pressure and you can make a ball do different things. And it doesn't mean you throw that pitch. I go to, only because it pops up every year at the end of AU, but like my last strikeout ever of flipping, like I don't have a screwball, but I took a drop ball and I tried to stay inside and tail it away because I can't afford for it to come back over the plate against flipping. So I just stayed inside and angled it a little bit. Doesn't mean I had a screwing drop or a drop screw. Just means, right, it was a drop outside that I tailed, or I put some pressure somewhere else to make it happen.
So fascinating.
So, yeah, I think why we feel like we have to reinvent the wheel all the time and sound different and cool, I don't know. But I hate, for someone that threw a drop and a curve, I don't really like drop curves because I don't think they do both of those. I really don't. Like, most of the time if someone says they have a drop curve, I bet if you guys were to stand in and see it, you would see it do one more than the other, and the one it does as well isn't the reason it fools you.
I think you're right. Like, it's either
100%.
a drop outside or a low curve ball, maybe, for the most part.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I love what you're saying about, like, what you said about if you can't throw something here 60% of the time consistently, you don't have it. I think that athletes are so in a rush to be great. And so, they're hurrying to success when you can't get there until you have these stepping stones first. So making sure, that you, like, I think about it as a hitter, right? Like, if I can't hit this down the middle pitch up the middle, I can't be moving on to hitting an outside pitch to right field. I can't be moving on to the next thing because I don't have this down yet. So hearing that from you, Kat, I think is so huge, because like we're talking, there's different pitches. Pitchers want to have a repertoire, but if you can't do this first, why do you think you can then go and do that, which is more complicated or harder or more challenging to get? So I love hearing that from you.
Well, I think that's my number one pet peeve, and I don't think I threw a fastball and changeup until I was 13 years old, like nothing else.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Louder.
Yeah. So for like 2.5 years, fastball, changeup, that's it. But then I've said before in some other places, like, parents and kids get bored because it's like, oh, that's all I'm practicing. Well, to be excellent at anything, there's boredom, there's monotony, there's, tedious, whatever. Like, anyone that's good, it's been boring at some point where you just work. That's like the fundamentals. That's the same thing in hitting and fielding and everything. Like, people don't want to do the fundamentals because it's boring. Well, boring is what gets you great. And so,
God, mic drop.
So fastball changeup's not fun. It's not like fancy and flashy, but you know what? It gets the job done. And if you can throw a fastball inside 9 out of 10 times, guess what? When you start throwing that drop ball, you're able to throw it inside more often than if you can't hit your fastball inside. And then you just try to throw something. If we can't throw something that's supposed to go straight, why should we be throwing something that moves? I don't understand.
I'm literally striking out as this conversation goes on. That is, if you to get to the good, it's got to be a little boring. Like, it's not always going to be but you know what's glamorous as is a gold medal.
Right.
Period. That's super glamorous.
I mean, an Olympic medal, period. But I mean, I equate it to hitting all the time. Like, I'm pretty sure tee work is not the one thing you guys wake out of bed and be like, yes. I mean, maybe Amanda Chittister, because I feel like she and her tee have a deep relationship. But
shout out Chitty.
Right. But most people, like, you have to do it, but it's not what you're like dying to do.
Right.
But if you don't do your tee work and you just go straight to front toss, like, you're not going to have your swing, you're not going to be warmed up, your timing and like all that. So,
right. We're here. I just want people to understand, like, we're hearing the fundamental talk from someone that was a 3-time Olympian.
Literally.
That has 3 Olympic medals.
Literally.
Right. And I'm assuming, Kat, I don't want to speak for you here, but I'm assuming that when you were still pitching at 38 years old, you did not leave the fundamentals behind.
Oh no. I mean,
Right.
that's what, no, you don't. And in fact, that story, like I unretired and spent like 3 weeks just throwing fastballs because I hadn't done it in a while, maybe even a month, and it was just all fastballs to get mechanics back in order. Like, and not that they probably, I mean, I don't want to say it's like riding a bike, but it's not like I completely forgot how to pitch.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to start trying to throw things and create a bad habit when I didn't need to. And so, yeah, you go back to your beginner drills, you go back to just throwing a fastball. And then even just throwing a like alternating fastball, curveball. So that way mechanically I could feel, what's right, what's not. So yeah, no, fundamentals and like, that's what too, I think I still threw fastballs to warm up, not a ton of them, because it's so important just for you to have your basic foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many pitchers these days, you say throw a fastball and they're like, what? And I'm like, I don't care if you don't throw it in a game. You should still be throwing it to warm up, to feel like your most basic foundation and then build off that.
Yeah.
And I think so many of them like eliminate it as soon as they start throwing movement pitches. And it's like, don't eliminate it. You don't have to throw in a game, but don't eliminate it.
Yeah, I've always found that fascinating how in Major League Baseball, like every pitcher still has a fastball that they just spot really well. Like you don't make it to the big league without spotting a fastball really well. And for some reason, softball is not the same. That's always like not grinded my gears a little bit, but like it's always been intriguing to me that for some whatever reason, no one like genuinely throws fastball.
Well, I think about go, Kat, you go.
I was gonna say just because it's not moving, they think it's gonna get hit hard. And I'm like, but you
not necessarily.
You can spot it. You can offset it. You can throw, like, if you throw at a different speed than your curve or your drop, like, it can be very effective. Like, all that research around effective velocity is coming out. And it's like, as a hitter, like, timing is everything to us, right? So, like, if you, like, Kat, if you were, like, 62 with nasty drop, and then you, like, let's just say you randomly popped the fastball in there at 65, 66 even, like, that would freeze me.
Yeah, messed up.
Up, toe up from the flow up.
Well, I think about playing over in Japan in the pro league over there, and every single Japanese pitcher has a fastball and a changeup and maybe one or two moving pitches, and they are pretty much throwing at you fastballs, and it's some of the most challenging hitting that you can find because they can place it, like you said, they can place it so well. And yeah, like what even thinking about as a pitcher, right? Like if you've thrown a few balls, or if maybe like a hitter is giving you a hard time, like having a fastball that you can place to kind of go back to kind of catch your momentum, catch your rhythm, and then go like a baseline almost. Am I making that up, or is that something that's real?
No, that's real. I mean, we'll go back to Randy Rupp when I coached her at Texas State. Like she came in freshman year, screwball was like most people screwball. It's either a fat strike or it's tailing so far and they don't swing, right? There's like not usually an in between. And so before she really had command of her back door, I said, forget it. We're just going to eliminate the screwball. And if we want low and inside, you're just throw a fastball. And she like looked at me and I'm like, no, you're just going to throw a fastball. And, that's where you take the 9 hole and put it on the corner you want it to go to and say, all right, let's work on hitting 9 out of 10 as much as we can. And we used it as much as we needed to just to show me inside, and then continue to use, her curveball and her changeup, which were deadly. But it's easy if you can spot it. And I think that's the problem, is so many kids go away from spotting it on a dime once they start moving things, like learning things that move. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is like still use your fastball, spot it a couple times within, your workout to start with, and then go to things that move. But yeah, I think it can still be a valuable tool. And if you can spot it up in the zone too, I mean, I have a kid who doesn't have a rise ball. We just threw high fastballs, and she gets more swing and misses out of a high fastball than she does out of the kids who throw a rise ball that goes way out of the zone.
Oh yeah. I believe it.
I mean, like teams will be like, watch the rise. And she's laughing because she's like, it's a fastball.
You're like, what rise?
I just throw it high at your shoulders because I'm trying to change your eyes just a little bit, but
effective.
Yeah.
So
effective. Kat, I would love to talk about kind of the transition you've made from having just such a long decorated career to now, being a mom, and what are some of like the similarities between being an elite athlete and being a mom now?
Oh, puppy dog.
That's Mac. That's our other co-host.
Yeah, you have your baby over there. I've got mine, and
Yeah.
he's
Very sweet.
he likes attention
Um,
also.
Oh, what similarities? Similarities is, I mean, it's hard. It's just as hard. I think maybe even harder because it's a little bit more unpredictable. Like as an athlete, we obviously can
Mhm.
schedule our days and have our routines and get in a flow. And when your life revolves around a 14-month-old that, changes with the wind, you can't necessarily have as much of a structure.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, dealing with the adversity of sport and, the pressure of big situations and things like, I'm on a plane and unbeknownst to us, she had an ear infection. She was just sleeping on the plane, but she wakes up and just like pukes down the entire front of me. And I'm just like,
Oh,
Poor baby.
cool. Good thing is I have another shirt. And so my mom like held things up and I changed real quick on the plane, like didn't have to get up. But, I don't panic because like the unknown happens. It's just more of like a roll with the punches. And, I think that's coming from sport is like in a game, you can't panic. You just have to kind of roll
yeah.
with it. And so it's definitely a challenge though. And I will say probably more challenging than anything sport put in front of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think because you can prepare for most situations in sport and you cannot prepare for what motherhood and children, I should say, bring to your life. But at the same time, it's so fun. Like
So
especially now, like the 8 to 8 month plus, like they're walking, they're starting to talk. Like she's coming up with a new word every day.
Oh.
So yeah, like I've been teaching her up, and you were asking a question, but she looked at me and went up, and I'm like,
Oh.
"Let's come from? We haven't seen this in forever." So
Oh.
yeah, but I will say, like, because we've done hard things in sport, like when you get to be a motherhood and it's hard, like you don't freak out about it. So I think that's been the biggest translation over.
Cool.
But the not being able to be on a structured routine type thing, that got me for a good chunk of time because I'm so used to waking up and doing what I need to do
Yeah.
and marking, checking all the to-do list off and then going. But
And she's like, mm-mm,
Hold
right,
up.
you're doing what I want to do.
Hold up, Ma.
right.
Hold up.
Mm.
So
Oh
cute.
yeah, there's days where I'm like, oh sweet, she'll take a nap. I'll go get a workout in, and like she didn't take her nap till 3 o'clock, and I'm like,
You're like,
great,
dog.
thanks.
Come on. What's been your most proud moment so far with her?
Oh, with her. Well, I mean, we've made it to a year. Like at this point, we've made it 14 months, and we haven't had
Bravo.
stitches or any big like cuts and anything.
Knock
Bravo.
on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. But I think like I just am always like I'm amazed because she is like the sweetest, smiley, like welcoming committee everywhere we go. But I always just look at her, I'm like, how is she mine?
Oh.
Like where did this child come from?
So
I am
cute.
not the welcoming committee at the grocery store and everywhere else. But I think the other thing is just we celebrated her first birthday. I was working a game at Texas, and so after the game, I took cupcakes down there, and the team, saying happy birthday to her and stuff. But just watching her not have stranger danger and watching her go to almost anybody and everybody, regardless of where we are. But that day in particular, I think she got passed around to like the whole team, and just watching her smile and enjoy it. And she has no clue what's going on in life yet, but we
Yeah.
have pictures later to show her just how loved she is. And I think that's kind of my proud moment is just, I know, knock on wood, I mean, I don't think anything's happening to me in the near future, but like my child is so loved by so many people all across the country that it's like, it's cool to see how many people love on her. And I know in the big end of it, she's going to understand it and love on all of them because like, it's cool to see. So
That's so
that's kind of
sweet.
that's
I'm
been
sobbing. So.
Yeah.
yeah. I would say the proud moments when she walked, but man, now I dread that she knows how to walk. 'Cause
You're like, dang.
Once they start, you can't stop them.
you can't. And I mean, she went, not that she's dead sprinting, it's not real fast, but it's fast enough. Like you blink and she's down the driveway, and I'm like, oh
Oh
God, come
God.
back here.
Gotta go
Yeah.
catch her.
That's so sweet.
Oh,
If I just want to like clarify something here. If Texas makes it to the national championship series in Oklahoma City, are we going to see Cat and JC?
Most like, oh, well, Cat will be there for sure. I've said all along that if they have a chance at winning it, I will be there to
Yeah.
watch
Heck
it.
yeah.
But there's probably, there's like an 85% chance JC will be with me.
Love that. I can't wait.
So-
If you need a babysitter, holler at your girl. So
Yeah, well, we'll hang out with her. We'll hang out with you. If you want
For
us to
sure.
babysit you, like we'll be there.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
you can-
whatever. Either way.
We can just hang out and she can run around between the three of us. Yeah. That
Yeah.
works.
I'm
Sweet.
like that.
So-
I'm like that aunt that the kids know they can misbehave around. Like upon eye contact, they just immediately are like, "Yeah, I can get away with anything with that one." And so
Yeah.
I'm often like, "Sam, you go stand over there because this kid knows that they can run amok, and you're gonna just laugh with them." So if you want that, I'll be there.
Perfect.
Cool,
She loves
cool
those.
auntie Samu.
I know I
Yeah,
do be
she-
loving on some JC. I do.
So cute.
Halo,
Yeah.
do you want to do your go-to?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I think this one's going to be really good coming from Kat, who has just been
Yeah.
around for like literally ever. Kat, if
Yes.
you, this is our ending question here, and it's like really deep and philosophical. Okay.
Big one.
But if you could give any piece of advice to your younger self, would love to know what it would be and why.
Well, it's advice I would give myself that I think I unknowingly did anyways.
Ooh.
Ooh, I love this.
Right. So it would be follow your passion and follow your gut. So a lot of people don't know I was the only athlete cut from a Little League All-Star team. Like 14 people tried out, 13 made it, or 12 and 13 or something. Lo and behold, your girl got cut. And so there was like I played one more season and then I told my dad, like, I think I want to try to play travel softball. And so we went that route. And when we went that route, we had a lot of people who basically told my parents, it was not a good move. And I was going to ride the pine. I was never going to play. Like, this was a bad move. My mom showed up with one Little League registration form for my brother. And they were like, aren't you missing Catherine's? And my mom was like, no, she's going to move on and play travel ball. And they kind of were like, that's not smart. And,
Oh my God.
right. And then in the end, I was playing till I was 38 and everyone else associated was done.
Yeah, bye.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine cutting Cat Osterman?
But I think, I loved softball enough that I wanted to try to do something bigger. I wanted to try, and I think the cool thing is my parents never sheltered me from failure either. So I think that's the other thing is embrace the failure. But in trusting my gut and the passion, like I went for it. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I did sit the bench. I played outfield more than I pitched at first, being left-handed, and I was still hitting at the time. We don't need to go down that road, but and then eventually I got time pitching and I proved that I could do the job, and then I got better innings as opposed to mop up or way behind kind of inning, and so over time proved what I could do and then earned my keep. And then but I wasn't the ace. Everyone wants to go be the ace in the team, right? Go earn your spot. Go prove that you can do it. But I think, my gut, my passion led me there, because if I didn't love it, I wouldn't have kept doing it. But our gut to, go and do something different. And I think it wasn't pushed by my dad. He told me every day from the time I started till the time I finished, the day you want to hang up the cleats, I'm all for it. I'll go back to golfing.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, so he didn't have to push me to work. I mean, even to this day, I could count on, I don't even think I need two hands, how many times he had to tell me like, hey, we need to practice today. Because I knew if I didn't practice, I didn't get a lesson. And obviously to get a lesson is how you get better. So, I loved it enough to work hard at it, and I loved it enough to chase it. And I think, that's why I did it for so long, and why I retired and unretired. If you ask Megan Wiggins, it's like 8 times, but I really
It's growing, over the years.
It is, it keeps growing.
It's up to 12 now or something.
I did only unretire twice, technically, I guess. But I don't know if you call the first one an unretirement. When I never fully retired, I just said I was going to retire, and halfway through season changed my mind. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, chase your passion, trust your gut, and embrace failure.
I couldn't possibly love that more,
Seriously.
especially the message that you don't have to be the best at it for it to be fun and for you to love it. Like I really like, because softball's real hard. You can be the
Yeah.
greatest and lose. That's not
Mhm.
fun. But like thinking about, okay, today I sucked today or we lost today, but I would rather be there losing or sucking than anywhere else. And I think that
Yeah.
message coming from you, Kat, is so awesome because look what happened because you were happy doing it, you loved it, and you got better because of those things first before how you performed. It wasn't you practiced more because you were performing well, you practiced more because you loved it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
My gosh, I can't. Kat, thank you so much for sharing
Yeah,
your
thank
wisdom.
you,
We're
guys.
gonna have to have you back on because I feel like there are like
Oh,
so
yeah.
many things that
Yeah.
people can benefit from listening to you and
Oh,
your story.
truly.
But thank you for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you, guys.
Team USA has brought me opportunities that I never thought would happen before, and I'm super humbled to be able to represent my country.
There's so much talent in the United States playing softball right now, and we want to see the game continue to grow and prosper and develop.
I want to develop not just men, but women's softball as well.
I want to see more girls like me playing this sport.
I just hope one day that I can be somewhat mentioned, like a Natasha Watley, to help this game.
I just remember like watching everyone like in the Olympics, like, and you guys just representing this country. And for me playing USA softball, like I just want to do the same.